Hey everybody, Kyle Sasser here, and it's everybody's favorite time of the month. That's right, real estate market statistics time. These real estate market statistics are for Pinellas County for May 2026. So let's talk about these stats. So I call them the May 2026 stats, but this information is actually gathered from April. So I call it the May stats because I recorded in May, and April is the most recent complete month data that I have. So the reason I don't do week to week is because a week changes, especially in the springtime, depending on the weather, depending on holidays. You know, Easter moves around, and that tends to have a dampening effect on home sales. So week to week is always a pretty hard thing to gauge real estate on, but monthly, in that time period, that's when you can really start to see where this falls in relation to the overall year, as well as, most importantly, compared to this time last year. We can see how we're doing. So the other piece here is most of these numbers are compared April 2026 to April 2025. The reason we do that instead of month to month is because months also, throughout the year, you have ebbs and flows. Things are usually pretty slow through the winter time. They pick up in the spring and summer, and then, you know, things really tail off as school starts back into session and fall. So, you know, it happens every year. You can see it in these in these stats year after year. Doesn't matter what's going on. That is the overall month-to-month trend. So you really need to look at how it compares to previous years so you can really tell how the market is doing. The other thing to know is this information is generated directly out of the MLS. This is not passed through any sort of filters. I generate these myself out of the MLS, and it's my analysis that analyzes all this. And the important thing with real estate stats, you cannot take just one thing by itself. What the real estate market does, and understanding what the real estate market is doing, is looking at the 6 or 7-ish variables and how those all interplay. At its core, it is supply and demand, but it's supply and demand over time. Statistics video, obviously I like sharing the information with you, but this ingrains what the market is doing in my head so that I can give my clients superior information. And that's what all this comes back to at the end of the day. This isn't about getting minutes on YouTube. It's not about monetizing YouTube or Facebook or any of that garbage. This is solely about getting the best information so that I can give the best advice to every client that we have. And potentially you could be a client. Now, if you remember back to math class, you might remember mean, median, mode, or average and median is kind of what most people would call it. So average, obviously you take, let's say 5 houses, you add up the sales price, you divide it by 5, that gives you the average. The median is a little bit different. What the median is if you have, let's say, 120 houses that have sold, the median price is the point at which there is an equal number of houses at a higher price point and at a lower price point. So I tend to give more weight to the median sales price because the median calculation removes outliers, both very expensive or very inexpensive. So, you know, if Tom Brady's house sells or Joe Burrow's house sells or whatever, you know, something that is just double, triple million digits or whatever, that puts a huge pull on the average sales price, despite that only being one house. Whereas the median sales price, it's not 100% exact, but it is the best metric that we have to determine where the general middle of the market is. All right, let's dive into these Pinellas County numbers. So, closed sales were up 5.65% from 938 to 991 homes. Cash sales were down 11.73% from 375 to 331. Median sales price held at $465,000, while average sales price went up 12.3% to $670,577. Median percent of original list price, it went down like 0.5%, which is not much. It went from 93.8 to 93.3%, and median time to contract climbed 22.22% to 33 days. Number of new listings was down 19.31% to 1,258 from 1,559, while total active inventory was down significantly. 21.17% fewer houses for sale in April 2026 compared to April 2025. And that's 3,892 to 3,068. Month supply, I don't usually cover month supply. It's not my favorite metric, but in this case, a little noteworthy. So what month supply is that is basically the ratio between closed sales and total inventory. And that's down 25% from 4.81 months to 3.61 months. Again, that number is arbitrary. It doesn't mean anything in the real world, but it does give an accurate gauge for what has changed. And what has changed is the ratio between home buyers and the homes that are available has shrank. And then when we look at the numbers, we can see that total number of closed sales is up while active inventory is down significantly. So that does shape up for a particular thing if you remember your supply and demand curve. Foreclosures and short sales, the doom and gloom section. Foreclosures were up 700%, which sounds terrible, until you realize that it went from 1 to 8. And short sales were up 100%, which also sounds bad, until you realize that I went from 1 to 2. Now, I do like to hit the different price points because a $1 million house does so at a slightly different time frame than a $400,000 house. And that's simply because the $400,000 house, there's more people that can buy that house. The buyer pool is larger. So 300 to 400,000, there was 13.1% more sales. Total of 233. 400 to 600,000 was up 9.62 to 319. And 600 to $1 million, which has kind of been the sluggish section of the market, was down 17.5% to 165. Median time to contract, times are up slightly compared to last year. It's definitely quicker than it was over the winter time. 250 to 300,000 is sitting at 43 days currently, 30.3%. 300 to 400,000 is up 6.9% to 31. 400 to 600 is at 28 days. 600 to $1 million is at 28 days. And then $1 million or more is the big jump. That's hanging out at 48 days. The interesting one is 250 to 300,000 is up to 43 days. That's probably going to be a lot of that is probably going to be flood damaged houses. So those just kind of sit longer. You have to have cash to purchase those. You can't finance them. So those are usually going to take a bit longer to sell. Total number of new listings by price. You start to see most listings above 300,000. So for example, 250 to 300,000, 83 homes went up for sale. And then at 300 to 400,000, there were 240. And then 400 to 600,000, there was 420. Now, that is down 19.85%, and that 300 to 400 number is down 19.46%. So there are fewer homes getting listed for sale. But the vast majority of the market is in that $300,000 to $600,000 price point. And then total inventory is basically down across the board. 300 to 400,000 is down 23.83% to 521. 400 to 600,000 is down 28.48% to 874. 600 to 1 million is down 19.5% to 712. So those are the real estate statistics for Pinellas County for May 2026. So what can we make of these Hillsborough and Pinellas County numbers? Well, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you know, we've kind of had two things going on. Obviously, the hurricanes came through about 1.5 years ago. What was interesting in Pinellas County is we actually had a buying and price surge. What was happening is a lot of people that had their floods damaged ended up buying homes on the mainland because they needed some place to live while their houses were getting put back together. Now, if you would have put a gun to my head and asked me what would happen when two near direct strike hurricanes, I would not say sales and prices would go up, but that is what happened immediately after. And then about 8, 9, 10 months after the hurricanes, prices in Pinellas County started to come down. And on the surface, they look like they came down significantly. But again, most of that was the flood damaged homes got counted in these metrics, but their condition was significantly different. So you have to kind of keep in mind what's going on in the world and in a location that could potentially affect home values. Most of the news articles you see are just very clear cut. Market is X, house prices are X. And the truth is it depends on a variety of factors. The problem is if you base it on what the larger market is doing, you can miss out on a lot of local data. So like in those time frames, if you priced your house based on that, median sales price in Pinellas County is down like $20,000, $30,000. If you price it like that, you left tens of thousands of dollars on the table if your house was on the mainland, because the reason that metric went down is because there was so many houses on the beaches and, on the eastern shore of Pinellas County that were flood damaged that were selling for cash because the home was torn out up to the studs, 4 feet up the wall. Whereas if you're inland, your house is not in that condition. What actually was happening was housing supply was actually constrained because so many houses along the coast were removed from the market that sellers on the mainland were actually seeing home prices increases despite overall in the county, home prices looking like they're going down. So again, you can't just go off of like a blanket home prices in Pinellas County are down or home prices in Saint Petersburg are down. You always have to look at what all of the variables are so that you can put together the best strategy for what you're doing. So after the hurricanes, Pinellas County, St. Pete, Clearwater, we had the buying surge right after the hurricanes. Prices went up, inventory went down. Then we had the lull where prices mostly came down. Then we had a true lull where even mainland prices did come down. But now, as you can see in these stats, and this was anecdotally something that I felt in March. Because again, remember, all of these stats are only based, with the exception of inventory, all of these stats are based on when a home actually sells, which means that by the time we get these stats, this is based on contracts that happened in March and even late February. Because the normal contract is 30 to 40 days. So February and March contracts will close in April, which is when this sales data gets computed. So it's important to look at the stats. That's why I do this, because it definitely embeds it in my brain and it helps me to communicate to you what the market is doing. But it's also important to look and see how conditions are changing when representing clients. So the fact that we have so many listings and the fact that we always have so many buyers in the market and we track everything that we do with them, that gives me insight into what the market is doing on a weekly basis. So I can tell you that last week we had Mother's Day, usually a pretty slow week, usually not too much going on, especially on the weekend. However, we submitted multiple offers for clients and every one of them was a multiple offer situation, which is nuts. That's not something we've had to happen too often. And then what I gauge is, well, that is the culmination of this plus another few weeks of movement. Again, I do these because it helps me to inform my clients, it helps me to communicate it to you, and then we also track things on a week-to-week basis so far as number of showings on the listings that we have for clients as well as offers that we are submitting for buyers so that we can respond more quickly. And especially, I can tell you that information definitely was aces in 2021 and 2022 when we were going up against 20 to 30 other offers, even 40 other offers on some houses. And we were still more often than not able to successfully get offers. Anyway, that's a little bit about what we do on the back end of things. That's Pinellas County. Hillsborough County has been a little bit different. So Hillsborough County has been stable. It has, even with the hurricanes and before the hurricanes, nearly 2 years now, Hillsborough County has been within a $15,000-ish price band. So it'll go up and hit the top of that, and then it'll come back down, then a few months later it'll go back up, then a few months later it'll come back down. And it did that even with the hurricanes. Pinellas County is usually a little bit more variable. It swings a little bit more, kind of has more extremes. It has higher extreme highs and it has slightly lower extreme lows. But Hillsborough County has been rock solid. And that, basically that is like neutral market territory. So we have kind of like mid to high 30 days. We had 40-ish days, 45 days through the wintertime. Currently we're at 30 days. That's basically slight seller's market to neutral market. Inventory has gone down significantly in both counties. That's going to tighten up inventory. Not going to be as many houses for sale, which means that buyers get a little antsier. Now, it's not anywhere close to frenzy material, because again, we have almost 3,000 homes for sale in Pinellas County and, like high-ish fours for Hillsborough County. That's not the right ratio for like frenzy, but it is noteworthy because we're not selling enough houses to move inventory that much. Like we don't have the mismatch. So, the number of sales has not moved that much and the number of new listings is also down, but yet inventory is down significantly. So what that tells me is that homes are starting to fall off the market. 20% of inventory in 1 month, that's significant. is definitely significant. But again, it's not to the point where prices are going to go crazy, but it is interesting that inventory has tightened up. I will say anecdotally, we have been seeing more multiple offer situations, especially on new listings. Most of that's going to be because buyers, they look through what's on the market whenever they decide that they're ready to buy. Usually buyers come back before spring listings come up for sale. So you have kind of like little off pace of each other. So the buyers come back, they look through everything, they go under contract on everything that looks good. And then as spring listings start to come up, those listings get a lot of attention because, you know, everyone's kind of ravenous for something new to look at. So yeah, so we've had multiple offers on a few new listings, and again, that is a bit of a change because even last year we didn't really have multiple offer situations that often last year. So again, that just tells me that things are picking up pace a little bit, and you know, inventory has retracted a little bit. Normally, if it's swinging into a buyer's market, what you will always see is median time to contract is going up and inventory is going up. And, you know, median time to contract is up a touch, but inventory is down a good bit. Now, 1 month does not make a trend. So I definitely need to see about another month or two of data, but on the looks of things here, it looks like 2026 is going to be as strong, if not slightly stronger than 2024 and 2025 were. Just that's coming from that inventory number coming down primarily. So that's pretty much the analysis. On the selling side of things are taking longer to sell. So if you're putting a house up for sale, especially if you're going for a top price, you do have to know that things are taking longer to sell. That's primarily because buyers do have more to choose from. Even though the time to contract is 30-35 days, the trade-off with the top price is that usually, in this market, usually takes a little bit more, like, you know, three-ish, four-ish months of regular time. And then the trade-off is if you need to sell sooner than that, we just price it accordingly, basically. That is the analysis for the Hillsborough and Pinellas County markets. And yeah, really interested to see what shapes up. So thank you so much for watching this market analysis for Hillsborough and Pinellas County for May 2026. My name is Kyle Sasser. If you would like help finding your own amazing home in the Tampa Bay area, I would love to help you out. You can reach me at 727-300-2111, or there's a link in the description down below. You can go there. That'll take you to my calendar and book a time that works best for you. If you have any questions or comments about these numbers and stats, feel free to leave those in the comments down below as well. I always like responding and answering questions that people have, and look forward to helping you out. So thank you so much for watching. My name is Kyle Sasser, and I'll talk to you soon.